Mr. Charamello has put this back on the agenda. It is not an action item, so there will be no action taken tonight. Having said that, in response to the actions that we took at our last council meeting, I stand behind those actions. I think those were reasonable decisions to be made. We're looking at issues that affect the betterment of the city, and based upon a thorough review of all of the legal aspects of our ability to make decisions and to impose policy, I feel very comfortable in what we have done, and I see no reason to revisit this issue. We have a number of issues that are facing the city that will require a great deal of discussion, and it is my belief that we need to move on to those issues. I'll now ask any other council member if they wish to add anything.
Well, I would agree with you. We voted on a direction. I don't want to sit here and have somebody tell me that I don't care about the citizens. All the citizens that contacted me are not against the fee. It's a marginal fee at best. It is a lot. It is money. It's a great deal of money. But the reality is to choose to do it or take it out of the general fund and lose employees, which we are probably going to be faced with, these economic issues that are coming up in the foreseeable future. To obligate ourselves to do this, I feel is, I felt informed. I don't know where somebody could tell me I wasn't informed. I didn't know. I didn't have any issues in front of me to tell me that. I'm not ignorant. I was elected to represent the public. Maybe some of you who are out there tonight who don't agree with me, that's your choice. I have no qualms about moving ahead with the decision we already made. And I'm thinking we're having to revisit a decision, which I'm glad that Councilmember Charamello thinks highly enough of his opinions that he wants to bring it back forward again. But I don't want to get browbeat or be told that I'm doing something illegal up here, because I think I'm acting in good faith. I think we're all trying to be responsible and to do this based on a need for the city. We have choices. We made a choice. Some are good, some are bad. We made a choice, and I feel strongly that that choice we made was the best we could do in these times we're in. And we're faced with a former council that made choices about taking it out of the franchise fee. And
General.
I wasn't involved in that.
I only had one quick question. I'm assuming it's quick. The reason it wasn't put to bid was because Dixon Sanitary is the only one that we could have put to the citizens, correct? It wasn't an issue of if we'd gone with the other contractor, then we could have had a cheaper price for the citizens to pay. Is that correct? If there isn't any way for them to have been billed directly.
Just to clarify, we would only go out to bid if we were going to expend general fund monies or other type of money, so we don't have to go out to bid for this particular service. The reason why Dixon Sanitary there was two parts to the original discussion. One was to how to fund street sweeping in the future. That decision was made. Then the second decision was the only way we could transition that is to the current franchise, because they know how to bill and such. If we were going to go out to a different form, an option 3, which would be the citizens pay for it, but we're not involved, that's almost another whole franchise process. So we did discuss that night, and Jeff's here to elaborate on that, but, okay.
Yeah, my only concern was that if we were going to be putting it to the citizens, that if they could get the lowest price. But from what you're telling me is that the only way we could put it to the citizens is the way that we chose.
I think the problem is that once you've decided not to pay for it out of the general fund, the choices that you have at that point become pretty limited. You can't really run a bid between a franchise holder and just a contractor, such as Stockton Sweeping. That's a very apples and oranges kind of situation. They'll both give you a price, but what they're doing, even though the streets end up getting swept in both cases, what they're doing is very different because your franchise has terms and conditions regarding solid waste that they have to comply with, and the other company is just coming in and providing a single specific service. So the comparison is kind of apples and oranges, even aside from the question of who pays.
Okay.
Councilmember Kaler?
Well, I think that when we're faced with the possibility of taking $130,000 to $40,000 out of the general fund versus asking each household, not each person, but each household in Dixon to pay an additional $1.02, it seems to me that that $1.02 per household is a better value for the city as a whole than taking the $140,000 out of the general fund, because that can have a very negative effect in a lot of different ways on the city, and by affecting the city negatively, it affects the citizens and can affect them a lot more seriously than $1.02 a month.
Just to clarify, it's 125,000, not
125,000,
140,000. Okay. Okay.
Wait a second, I haven't given my final thing.
Well, you've been talking, and I
I
figured you had all
understand, I
that
gave a
you needed to
presentation, I
say.
should be able to give a conclusion.
Very good.
I find it interesting that not one of you answered the question that Mr. Alexander posed, why would you not want to go out to a bid? Except
Is
that
this a
Mr.
debate?
No, I'm simply saying.
But you
what I
had
was-
your chance to make your point.
I made
Now what
my
you're doing
point.
is you're
Okay.
trying to be argumentative.
No, I'm not.
Make your conclusions,
I'm
please.
trying to make my conclusion here. Nobody responded to why you would not want to go out to bid and get the lowest price. Ms. Kaler talked about $1.02 as a better value. Well, I think 75 cents would be a better value.
That would be true.
I simply don't see that the logic that Mr. Dean put forward, saying that these are apples and oranges, when you go out to bid, you're bidding on the same thing.
Mr.
Dixon, wait a
Councilmember
second.
Chairman, you are now
Excuse me.
repeating what you've already said. Please
No,
make
I'm
your
not.
conclusions.
I'm not repeating it. I'm responding to
make your
something.
conclusions,
I'm
please.
trying to. If you'd quit interrupting me, maybe I'd be able to.
And don't repeat what you've already said then, sir.
I'm not. Mr. Dean made a statement. I'm responding to the statement that he just
Then
made
make
about
your
it being
statement.
an apples and oranges comparison.
Please wrap up your testimony.
It is not an apples and orange comparison because at the time when we went out to bid, Dixon Sanitary Service was one of 3 companies that bid on this thing. So that is not a logical statement saying that we could not make this a competitive bid. As for what the city manager had to say on the matter, in answer to Mrs. Kopas's question, or Ms. Kopas's question, I find that to be typical of how we're doing business here. We're ignoring the question and saying, no, there is no other way to do this. Yes, there is another way to do this, and yes, we could take this out to bid, and yes, we could have another way to bill it. You simply don't want to do that, and I can appreciate that. I understand that there's probably at least 3 votes against bringing this back for another vote. So at this point, I'm just going to say, that's fine and dandy, we can move on.
Thank you. We'll take a 10-minute recess.